Hello everybody, welcome back to part 4 on our tutorial series for the game Geometry Dash. Last week we should have ended off with a few platforms of different shapes that have collisions on the top so that we can jump on top of them like this. So we have a square platform, and then we have a thinner platform here. Then we should have a wavy platform also like that. So this week we're going to add hazards. So first, let's create a new tile map and call it hazards, or you can call it spikes, whatever you want. Now we first want to lock it in place so we don't accidentally move it. Next, in the cell size, change this to 122 by 122 like last time. Then in the scale, which is in transform, change it to 60 divided by 122.0 like that, and do it for both of them. So 60 divided by 122.0. Now going up, make sure we have show collision as on so we can actually see whether the collision shapes are correct or not. Now going down to the collision section in the cell, turn off both layer and mask and only enable mask 3, since mask 3 is the only layer that the player checks for spikes. So enable mask 3 and none of the other ones. Now going all the way back to the top, create a new tile set by clicking new tile set and then click the tile set. And now go in assets and drag in regular spike on 1.png like that. So now click new single tile, just drag a few and then go to the snap options and change the step to be 61 by 61 like that. Now it should be perfect 2 by 2 if you drag the whole thing out. And now going to collision shape like last time, using new polygon, click the 3 corners of the triangle. It should create a shape like that. Now if you save this and then go into the editor, you should be able to place these spikes down like that. Now test out by saying once you hit it whether the "you died" screen shows up. Okay, we missed a spike. Let me play it again. So once we hit it, it should say "you died." So now let's add a few more. So going back to the tile set, drag in regular spike 02.png. And now a new single tile. Click on a single one to open up the snap options again. And change the step to be 61 by 56. Okay. Now go to collision again and click the 3 vertices of the triangle. So now if you try placing this one, you'll see it actually floats up in the air. This is due to the fact that the height is not 122 pixels. So we can go back here and selecting this, go to region. And now you should be able to see up here the selected tile underneath snap options. Go to texture offset and add 56. And now it should be on the floor. No. It's not, go back and add 66, not 56, like that. And now it should be on the floor, like that. Now test this out by adding a few of these spikes and see if you die once you hit these. Like that. It should say you died. Now let's finally add one more. Going back to the tile set, drag in thorn pit 01.png. And now new single tile. Click this and change the step to be the snap size to be 122 by 106. It should just be one whole thing. And now the texture offset should be 16. And these are all derived by taking the height of this should be 122 Now, if you look at thorpe01.png, it's 106, so 122 minus 106 gives you the texture offset. So you show the texture offset as 16. And now going to collision, and if you try to draw the shape with snapping on, it won't work. So turn off snapping, and now you can just try to trace out the shape as best as you can. So it's better, easier to zoom in. Like that. Doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it matches it. Since if the player hits it, it's most likely going to hit the black stuff and die. It should look like that. Now, if we add this one, view these and see whether we die once we hit those. And we see once we hit it, we die. So now let's try to deal with if we play the game and we just run into a block, we'll see that we don't actually die. Like that, we just get stuck, but we don't actually die, which is not what we want. Since in the game, once we hit the side of the block, we should actually die. So what we want to do is going back to the hazards. Well, the plan is we'll just add another tile on top of these blocks, such that when we hit those, we die. So what we'll do is going back into here, add regular block o1.png into hazards. Like this. New single tile. And turn back snap on and change the step to be 61 by 61. So make sure you have snap back on, which you do by clicking that. And change it to 61 by 61. And now going to collision. Again, now turn off the snap. And what we're going to do is using new polygon, go up like 3/4 from the bottom, click there, and then all the way to the corner to draw a triangle. So now if the player hits the side of the block, which is where they hit here, they'll die, or if they hit the bottom. But don't draw it too close to the top, otherwise the player might glitch into a bit and hit the collision. So now if we save this and go back in the game, we can add some, let's remove these to test now. So we hit the sides of these, we should die. Like that. So now if we hit that and then we die, which is what we want. So you can add these, you don't have to add them for all of them because the player's not going to hit the side here. However, just add them where you think they should be. So now let's do this for the regular platform or o1.png. Click new single tile and then turn on snap again. Now change the step to be 61 by 28. And now select the tile and go into collision, turn off snap again using polygon. Go 3/4 of the way up and select the two corners to draw a triangle. Like that. You can save it. And now going here, we can add these. We can go to hazards. We can see that little triangle pops up like that. So now we can test that. You can see that also works once we hit the side. It says you died. So this is basically the core gameplay. All that we have to do is let's add a floor. So first, delete this old stack by that we had as the floor. And for the floor, we'll use another tile map. So create a new tile map, call it floor. Now on this tile map, first we're going to go to the collision and change the layer, not just to 1, but also to 2, since mask 2 is the ground layer, which is the player will detect whether they're on the floor or not to jump. So now change cell size to 64 by 64, which should be default, so keep it as 64 by 64. Then going to transform and scale, change it to 60 divided by 64.0, like that, for both of them. So this will scale to the proper size of 60 by 60, which is the player size. Now, as usual, make sure you lock it so you don't actually move it around. And now, going into create a new tile set, and now drag in, it's in the folder called geometry-ground, and drag in ground square 01 hd.png. Make sure it says hd at the end, because that's the correct size, and then click new tile. Click new tile, and turn on Snappian, and just select a few and change the step to be 64 by 64. Select out the whole block, and now go to collision and just add a square collision around it, like that. So now in the game we can just add these along the floor like that. So now each have a floor, and whenever you hit the side you should die. So right now the game has no color and it's all black and white. The reason is we actually use a shader later on to add color and stuff to this to make it look better. So over the before the next video, make sure you this crashed. So make sure you create a test game scene so that you can either copy the geometry dash first level or do something like that. So next week we can add color, and then we can add some music, stuff like that to make it a full game. So you should have ended off with a simple level that has a floor and some tiles that once you hit the side you should die with. I hope to see you next week.